about humans. Welcome to the M Word, the Manx podcast, brought to you by Martin. That's me.
I'm Matt.
That's him. It has been a while. Hi, Matt.
Hello.
Been too long.
Yes.
Hannah, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. We're on Facebook Live as well, for those watching live now on a Sunday evening. It has been a while. Matty and I thought we'd take a wee break for a little while over Christmas and then lockdown, etc. So before we dig in, I just wanted to, if you're a first-time listener or watcher, it was just to give a shout-out to some of our other podcasts or back catalogue. There's various, it's not all sports-related as well on there, so if you're not particularly a sports fan, there's lots on there from when we chatted with Graham Clucas, who was an addict, tried to set himself on fire and kill himself, ended up in law an enforcer in a gang, to then turn his life around, to life-changing things that he learned when he was out hiking, to Connor Cummins, who obviously we all pretty much know very well, and Richard Slee, joint podcast, who talked about their big accidents they respectively had in their rehab, to what we were chatting before about George Blackwell. He was one of our very early podcasts, a young lad, very inspirational, young man with his head screwed on, works for our listen and well worth a listen. So yeah, please do have a look back at our back catalogue. There's lots in there to dig into. So right now we don't care any about them. Thanks for coming down.
No, thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. So a bit of background for everyone. You are a Manxie?
I am, born and bred.
Whereabouts on the island?
Well, I was born, obviously, in Douglas, the only hospital. I would live down south for about 6 years, and then my mum and dad moved into Douglas, and I've been there on and off, obviously, apart from going to uni, travelling, things like that.
Are they Manxies?
Yeah, they're Manxies too,
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were they sporty?
My dad, we used to play rugby, and my mum was a sprinter. He always used to tell me that she had all the records at Castle Rushen.
Did she?
I have no idea. I'm believing her. She has no reason to lie to me, I guess. But my dad was also a sprinter. He always said that he was a hurdler as well, which is apparently that's where I get my hurdling ability from.
Oh, right, okay.
But I've never seen any proof of that. So
I'm just trying to think then. So hurdles, they're never over 400 metres, I presume then? Is that the longest?
Yeah, it's the longest hurdle event they do, yeah.
Right.
Or big fat hurdles, which is steeplechase.
Okay, yeah. Well, Andy Fox was talking about that's what he did a lot of.
Yeah. So
your first then interaction with sport, was that were your parents not pushy, but pushing you in that direction, or was it just something that you naturally took to?
Yeah, I think I remember one of the first memories my mum used to say was putting me in, one of the sports races you get when you were a kid. And
Egg and spoon?
Yeah, something or just the general, but I was about 4 or 5, and apparently I obliterated the rest of the field so much so I almost got to the end. I turned around and waited for everyone to catch up, and then finished. But there's no way I'd do that these days. I'm definitely not that nice these days. So
that's obviously, I guess, it's come from the parents then, if that's
they've never been pushy. They've always been quietly supportive, which is probably why me and my brother have both stayed in the sport for so long.
Yeah, so your brother's Tom, is that right?
Yeah, he is.
So he does...
He's a sprinter too.
Okay.
Yeah, moved to hurdles. We both moved to sprint hurdles for different reasons, and then he's gone back to sprinting. Tends to do a bit more weightlifting and things these days, as well as but actually his sprinting's come on leaps and bounds actually since he's there's a lot of pressure on him. I think he put a lot of pressure on himself for a long, long time because he qualified for Commonwealth Games and then got shingles. And actually, you'd be probably a good one to talk to as well.
Right. Is he younger than yourself?
Yeah, he looks a lot older. So, but yeah, he'll always say that he had a harder paper round than me. But.
All right. So your transition then is, well, in fact, one of the questions I was going to ask later on, but since you mentioned about weights there, I wonder when has training over your sort of career of running, has that changed in regard to I assume maybe more in the old days, it was just about out practicing the running and the hurdling, is more weights and I guess I use the word bands, the core strength and that. Has that become even more important then?
Yeah, hugely.
And strength around that? Yeah,
definitely. And I think for me, I've probably done gym work and weights seriously probably the past 10 years. Okay. And it makes a huge difference. Just strength-wise, just stability around your joints and everything. Right. I find it a lot better, but it obviously works really well for my brother.
And is that injury prevention as well?
Yeah, I think most of my training is revolved around injury prevention, but it's just occupational hazard.
All right. Mm-hmm. So back to then the school days of running, did you end up running for the school, I assume? And
Yeah, it was one of the things when I started back at, I ended up having quite a serious knee operation when I was 11. So I didn't do...
Because of running or just?
No, it was, well, I think it was just a degenerative that disease. Yeah. It was osteochondritis. So it's where your bones kind of crumble underneath the kneecap. So I had surgery to refeed blood vessels through my knee, which at 11 was quite a... So I used to fall over a lot, so my mum thinks that that's probably where it's come from.
Oh, okay, right.
Didn't put my hands down, just always on my knees all the time. Right. So I stopped running then for a little while, and I got back into it when I was 15 because trying to do it for GCSE, you had to pick about 700 sports then for GCSEs. And I got back into it then, and Di Schimmel, my coach at the time, when I went down, she said, "Oh, go into the 300-meter hurdles." So I did, and I ended up winning. I was like, "Oh, this is pretty good."
Right. Okay.
And then got selected for the Island Games for the next year. And
what year would that have been?
That was 1999.
Okay.
Yeah, and
where was that?
That was in Gotland. Yeah.
Okay.
So and that's the rest, as they say, is history.
I was looking at some records earlier, and Di's name came up actually. So I knew. I mean, being a cyclist, I knew Colin, her son.
Yeah.
And I didn't really, I knew Di helped with sports, but certainly the records I was looking at, she still held the triple jump record and from like 1988, which must be one of the longest standing records around.
Is formidable. The amount of time that woman puts into the sport is amazing. Yeah. And I credit a lot of my career to Di. I wouldn't have stayed in the sport a long time if it wasn't for her. She was definitely one of the people that, made me love it. And she's still in it now, still coaching young hurdlers, and people are very lucky to have her in the sport. So yeah.
So let's talk through the technical side of hurdling now. So I remember doing definitely not a sprinter and just being very poor. I've got this distinct memory of doing 100 meters once at school and feeling I had this wonderful form as I ran down and probably did 20 seconds or whatever. And
I'm sure you're
is it are you born with speed or not? We look at Mark Cavendish as a cyclist and think, is he born with speed? Is it something you're born with or not?
I think so. I think it's one of those things you can improve probably about 10, 15%. Right. Whereas I think with long distance running and things like that, I think the work you put in, you definitely get out.
Okay.
But I think with speed, I think you're either fast or you're not. Right. And it's generally the experience I've had, it's even with teaching and things like that. You see that with kids, which kids are fast, and you guys probably know who was fast in your class at school and things like that. So yeah, and I've just always I like doing anything fast though, to be fair.
Right.
Like bikes and all kinds of stuff. I've got a bit of a need for speed.
Right. So then if you look at 100, is it 110 the hurdles? Or 100?
100, yeah, 110 for the boys. 100?
Oh, right,
yeah,
okay.
For the boys.
I never knew that.
I don't know, really.
Is there bigger gaps between the hurdles then?
Yeah, for men, because obviously men are faster, so they've got a bigger stride pattern.
Right, okay.
But why they still don't do it over 100 and just do less hurdles, I don't know. Maybe they just wanted an even number of hurdles, 10
I was
10.
to say, right, so the amount of hurdles are the same, it's just the fact that
it's
you've
just
got 10. Okay.
But it was quite good, actually, because when my brother started doing the 110 hurdles, even though we'd start at the same time then, so I'd always have to think, just don't catch me. So it was quite good when we could train together. That was a good.
And I presume as you grow up, you've got a certain amount of stride between each hurdle.
That's 3.
And is that pretty much everyone does that?
Everyone does
okay.
That, yeah.
So does that, you get to that stage at a certain age typically then, do you?
Yeah, it's because obviously they start the hurdles at 70 metres. But even if you do 70-meter hurdles at under 13, you still have a 3-stride pattern. Then obviously you just get bigger, faster. 75 meters, you still have to keep to the same stride pattern.
And as you go through those ages, again, a stupid question, but does the hurdle height change as well?
Yeah, the hurdle height changes. Right. I mean, I still think the senior ladies' hurdle height is a bit pathetic, to be honest, compared to the men's.
And what is it?
I should know that. It's about up to here.
Oh, right. Knee height.
Yeah, but the men's are 3'6". So the men's are really, if you watch it on the telly, it's a real technical, sport. You won't see most men's hurdle races and there's hurdle standing at the end, whereas the women's is.
Right, okay.
So I think personally, I think they need to raise it. So it's more of a technical event for the women.
Right, okay. But you don't know what the women, if the men are 3'6".
3'4".
No. Right.
Maybe a bit lower. 2'9". I should know that really. I just run them.
So then it's about, I suppose, getting out of the blocks quick. Is it 3 strides to the first one as well then?
No,
or is it different because you come out of the blocks?
Yeah, 7. You do 7 or 8 strides to the first hurdle.
Okay, and then over 3 and 3. And you always lead with, again, I should know, but you lead with the same leg every time.
Yeah,
okay.
Same leg every time.
Every day's a school day, right?
Yeah.
I'd imagine, I've actually never done the hurdles. Have you ever done the hurdles?
Similar. I've had to via school, but it wasn't an event I could say I was very good at.
It was I think it was one of those events as well, like everyone had their fastest, or who was better at the 800, the 15, who your jumpers and your throwers were, and it was literally like the keen ones, will you do the hurdles for me, please? Oh, okay. So it's never really been a technical event, I don't think, in school up until recently, whereas I think more people have thought, actually, we want to, just for the danger aspect as well, I think, of it. There's so many broken arms and wrists. And,
lovely.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
And you've never got into long jumping then? Because that seems to be, you see the sprinters doing a bit of the long jump, etc. Has that ever been?
Yeah, not really. I've done a little bit here, there and everywhere just to try and get a record or something like that I felt like, I could do that. Or just to mix training up sometimes. But no, I've never really concentrated on any jumps or throws or...
I'd imagine, again, if injuries are a constant thing, niggling and jumping into a sandpit's probably not the...
Yeah. It's just you kind of do what you enjoy, don't you? Yeah, I like running fast over stuff.
Yeah, right.
I find running just in general a little bit boring.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, even a 400, I feel like it's just a bit too...
So running down the road, you just go like hopping over cars and stuff. It's just boring otherwise.
No.
Some old deer walking a dog that you're hurdling and stuff.
But yeah, I just find just running over stuff is...
A bit more exciting.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that sort of 15, the 300. Is that, again, a common distance at that age?
Yeah. So up to under 17, they do the 300-metre hurdles. And then as you hit a senior woman, you go up to 400-metre hurdles, which is where I started doing the 400-metre hurdles. And
away racing, I assume they start to take you away to...
Yeah, well, when I did my first... Well, I think it was on my second or third 400-metre hurdle race in 99 in the Gotland Island Games. Joan Powell at the time and Di took me just for a bit of experience because I was only just 16, and I ended up winning. Right. So I was just like, oh, this
unexpected.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I was last at the 200-metre mark. So Joan, I think Joan was on I can't remember if she was on the phone to Manx Radio or something. She was like, oh, she's lost it, absolutely lost it, and then dropped the phone because they just kind of started picking up people. But yeah, my nana came with my mum as well to watch. My mum's not missed an Island game, so she's come with me every single one. Yeah, so it was a really special moment actually. Right. Yeah, but that was the first one.
And that was then literally within short space of getting back into it after your knee off.
Yeah, pretty much about a year and a half into being back. But again, I didn't really take training very seriously, or it was nice to you go down with your mates and you do. Di will always laugh because she never stopped telling me if there was a long session because I'd never turn up because I've got to do a 600. It's a bit far. So she stopped telling me what sessions we had on, which is very I'm not like that now. But yeah, so she's
basically one of those natural type of ones that just can do a bit of training.
I think a lot of people have that, when you're that age, you can kind of get away with a lot of, running on natural, and I'm quite determined, don't like losing. Right. So I think it's more of a tenacious thing as well. Right. But yeah.
Were you doing any other sports at the time?
I was playing a bit of netball. When I stopped, because of my knee, I ended up getting into horse riding and had my own pony. So I ended up competing on the pony and things like that. And then, as you know, GCSEs, A-levels, you can't do everything. And obviously then after the Island Games experience, I was just like, oh, winning's good. So I'm going to keep at this. Right. So I did for a while.
Did you then go to uni? Because that must have been around uni time then.
Yeah, that was quite difficult actually because Malcolm Arnold at the time, who was Colin Jackson's coach, he was quite a prestigious coach in the UK, wanted me to come to Bath and he wanted to coach me. Okay. So when I went to Bath to have a look around, I met him and I just felt it was all a bit intense. I was just like, I want to go to uni and have a good time. At the same time, I don't want to just concentrate on my sport, which now, looking back, was something I really wish I'd done. But again, you shouldn't really have any regrets and things like that. But he was the best hurdles coach in the country and he wanted to coach me. And I was like, And everyone I met couldn't talk about anything else other than what I'd done in my sport. And I just thought, this isn't for me. Right, so I ended up going to Chester and playing netball more than I did running.
Right, okay.
Although I still competed in running and I still had a training group in Liverpool and in the Wirral. But yeah, it was something I loved doing, I love competing, but I still probably didn't take as seriously as I should have done.
Yeah. Do you think there was a reason back then? It just wasn't that.
Yeah,
because you see some kids that are, I wouldn't say obsessed at that age, but are all in. But you just didn't appeal.
Yeah, and it's weird to kind of, because obviously it was a long time ago now, but it's hard to think that I was like that then because I'm so competitive and I would love to have done that with my sport, but obviously just at that time in my life, it just wasn't something that I wanted to do.
What did you study?
I did sports science.
Okay.
Like everybody does when they went off to uni. Yeah, because I wanted to go into physiotherapy.
Okay.
But my physio at the time, Isla Scott, said to me, don't go and do a physiotherapy degree, because she said that's all you're qualified for. So go and do a sports science degree, go and do some work in physiotherapy, and then if you like it, then apply to do your physiotherapy degree.
Right. Okay.
And she was right, absolutely right, because when I went into physiotherapy, I hated it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, she gave me some good advice there.
So did you come back to the island after uni?
Yeah, I did.
Was that always your intention?
Not particularly. I just came back to do, because I got a physiotherapy assistant job at the Nobles Hospital. And then, because I didn't like it, funnily enough, bumped into my old head teacher at Balcomine. And she said, I'd really like you to come and do some work in the P department if you're hating it at the hospital. I thought, oh yeah, go on then, I'll do that. Absolutely loved it and applied to do my PGCE back at Bath.
Oh, okay.
So I went back to Bath to do my PGCE.
And what's involved in that?
So it's just that basically it's better be a 4-year teaching degree in 1 year.
Okay.
So it's just you just don't have a life for a year.
Right.
And it's just constantly teaching, evaluating your lessons, lesson plans and things like that. And Bath's one of the top institutes in the country for teaching. Mm-hmm. So they're pretty hard on you. So, but it was good. And also I want to go back because I love my athletics a little bit more and I wanted to get back into that. But as soon as I got there, I tore my posterior cruciate ligament.
Okay.
So yeah.
Where's that? Knee?
Yep. Right. Yeah. Doing hurdles literally about a month in. So that was.
And how does that? Is that a tear, rip, snap? What's that?
Yeah, complete rupture.
Okay.
Completely.
So that's the one across the front of the knee.
No, it's the one at the back.
Oh, okay.
It's usually a car crash injury.
Oh, okay.
Because where the dashboard hits your legs, it kind of
pushes
whacks it back. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So
that was clipping or hitting a hurdle then, or
yeah. Well, the coach at the time, obviously being in Bath, top hurdles coach, was like, right, I really want you to do sprint hurdle drills on your non-dominant leg, which obviously the leg I wouldn't usually lead with in the sprint hurdles. And I was like, I'm not very good on that leg. And he looked at me as if I had 4 heads. So I thought, all right, don't be a pussy. I've got to do this. So I went full whack, hit the hurdle, and then I just took all the weight on my right knee and ended up facing the way I came, but my knee was still facing them. So, and then he literally came up to me, pulled me up as if I was a pussy, pulled up my legging as if to say, what is going on? And then my knee just went, and he was like, oh, physio. Right. So yeah.
What's the purpose of doing that training then, as in from the hurdles of doing your other leg then?
Because I was a 400 metre hurdler. So as a 400 metre hurdler, you're meant to be able to hurdle with both legs equally well.
Right.
Which...
Do people hurdle
Yeah, and I can hurdle with both legs, just not sprint hurdle drills wise, and that. So that was just a whole new concept to me.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was just.
And the hurdles in the 400 the same height?
No, they're lower.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
About under 17 women height.
So is that an op then on the back of the knee to? Well,
funnily enough, no. But for some reason, I was on the elite program at Bath, which I have no idea why. They had me down as a pro athlete, which was lovely, but unfortunately, I wasn't. So the guy at the time said, "It's better because of my physique, because I'm long and lean. It's better to keep my muscles and everything strong, because otherwise I'd had to have had a graft."
Okay.
And taking my muscle out apparently was just not ideal. Right. So yeah, that's when I really embarked on a really good strength program then.
Oh, right, okay.
That's when the England rugby team were in Bath Uni training for the World Cup. Oh, right,
okay.
Which was really good.
And is that graft then the ticket from your calf?
I think from your hamstring, I think. Right, yeah, but so it just didn't happen. But actually, when I got back and saw another physio, they said you really should have had that reconstructed.
Oh, right, okay. And do you get niggles from it now? Or?
It's not too bad, to be honest. Touch wood. I haven't had any reoccurring problems. Other than I had a bit of a knee issue with that knee in September, which took me out for 4 months. But that was completely different. It wasn't anything to do with posterior cruciate ligament.
So then you finished the teaching degree in Bath, and then
I lived in Harrogate for a while, and I taught there.
Right. What took you there? Just a job?
Yeah, pretty much. I went travelling after Bath, and I went to Canada, did my snowboarding qualification. And that was just great.
Right.
So,
what's the history of snowboarding?
I've skied since I was little.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was just one of those things that my brother started snowboarding, and I thought, oh, I'll do it. And then I've always wanted to, I love teaching anyway. So I just thought, actually, it'll improve my snowboarding, and then I can teach. And yeah, so that's why I thought, I applied for a job down in Bath, and I didn't get it. So it was one of those, if I don't get this job, this is what I'm going to do. That's why I thought I'll take the step and go. So when I came back, then I applied for a job in Harrogate. So
whereabouts in Canada were you?
In a place called Fernie.
Okay.
Yeah, very apparently snowboarder's paradise, just powder in massive bowl all the time.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So then you study and then start then teaching people, and during the winter months or whatever. I don't know. Was it winter all year round there? I don't know. No, it's winter, November to about April time. Right, okay.
Yeah, but it was just great. Met some amazing people, and yeah, it was lovely. So it's one of those things I thought, do I carry on traveling, or do I go home and do my teaching degree? Because if you don't do it within 5 years, you lose it.
Okay.
So I thought, you know what, I've spent an intense year of my life to do this, which I love. So I thought I'll get back and get it done, and then I'll probably go traveling again. And then obviously it doesn't.
What's the done bit? Do you have to do a certain amount of hours or something then to?
Yes. So after you've qualified as a teacher, you do your placement at uni. Then you have to do what's called your NQT year, which is your newly qualified teacher year.
Okay.
So you have to do a whole year of teaching, then you have to pass that year in order for you to become a qualified teacher.
What quantifies it? Because I assume you're in a school at that stage. What quantifies someone monitoring you? Do you have to? How does that work?
So your lessons are constantly observed, and obviously you have a mentor or somebody you deal with like once or twice a week, and then you have assignments and things like that to do.
Right.
Just to make sure you're up to speed with all the legislation and everything within teaching at the time, and so that's the way it works.
I'd imagine that's ever evolving as well with just dealing with kids. So many things to keep an eye out for.
Which is why we constantly have inset days and things like that, just to make sure that because everything's changing, especially after COVID and things like that, with online stuff for GDPR and,
child protection.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
health,
what it's like with Zoom, everything was like fine with Zoom, and then it was like, oh no, hang on, we haven't got child protection on here.
You've got to wear pants, all those things.
You can't be teaching children when they're in their bedrooms. You can't teach them when you're in your bedroom, and it's just like, it's all
new world.
Yeah, exactly.
So the injury, how long were you down with the
posterior cruciate? So that was an 8 month.
Right.
That was
tough?
Yeah, that was a really tough one. Because I was pretty much cross training and upper body stuff was but it was, as I said, like Bath, at Bath the England rugby team were there, and they were the only ones that were allowed to use the gym and athletes. So I was in there with the rugby team all the time, so which is great. Made me work so much harder.
Right. Okay. And was the desire to get back running?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to get back for the Island Games, which then were in Rhodes in 2007.
Okay.
Yeah. And I got back running to actually a pretty good standard. I just didn't get time to compete because it was just too soon after my injury, because I'd injured it pretty much September, October. And we had to get qualifying time for April.
Right.
And I was literally just getting back into decent. And Colin, my coach at the time, was like, there's no way you're racing yet. We need to really work on this, because the last thing you want to do is have a long-lasting effects on it. And, I think you could go pretty far with it. And yeah, it was frustrating watching people in the island, because because my brother was doing it. It was the first Island Games my brother went to.
Okay.
So we all went out as a family to support him, and that was tough, really tough. Yeah.
And at that stage, are you doing 400 and 100?
No, I'm still just doing 400.
Okay.
The 100 hurdles, even though I've done it since my first Island Games, it was just something I did for an extra event, really.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it was only it's only when I got hit by a car on my motorbike that I moved from the 400 hurdles to the sprint hurdles.
So what's that story?
There's a pattern here, isn't there? So I went to do my motorbike test.
Okay.
And literally...
What age was this?
In 2011.
Right.
So 10 years ago. Yeah, and it was in the March. And a guy just came straight off York Road as I was coming up Broadway, took me straight out, hit my knee, which my...
Is this while you were training to motorbike?
Yeah, the Island Games. The Island Games.
Sorry, motorbike training.
Oh, yeah, so it was literally like on my test.
Oh, on your test?
Yeah, I'd left. Right, literally only been left the thing for about 7 minutes.
Okay.
Apparently, if I'd been gone for 15, he would have passed me. But
I was going to ask, did he still get passed?
No. Yeah,
T-boned you.
Yeah, and the first thing that crossed my mind was like, if he's hurt my knee, I was like, I'm going to go mental. Even though that in the meantime I was falling off, and then I got run over by the person behind me, and so it was it was it. I broke 5 ribs, my vertebrae, my wrist, my radius, my ulna. But actually, my knee was fine. But he reckons because my knee was so crap. Sorry, am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
No, rubbish. He reckons that's why I didn't do any more damage to my knee.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
And that was the driver's fault?
Yeah, completely. Right. He just didn't come off. He didn't stop at the stop sign. Just came straight out and hit me. So
you're supposed to stop at stop signs, are you?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I think you're supposed to indicate as well, but I don't see a lot of that going on either.
But these things happen, and I was fine.
How long were you lying around after that?
What do you mean in the road?
No, well, that and rehab, I suppose, yeah. Or the rehab side. Yeah,
it's funny actually, when they say everything slows down when you're in trauma.
See it coming, did you?
True. Well, no, I didn't see him so much. It was the car coming the other direction. Because obviously I got thrown into the road. So as I kind of saw it, I thought, there's a car coming. I need to get up off the road and onto the pavement. To me, that was all slow motion.
Okay.
But actually, one of my friends from school saw the accident, and he said, "You literally bounced up and sprinted to the other side of the road."
Right,
and it's just mad. I remember just trying to take my helmet off, and there was a police van 3 down, so the ambulance and everything was there really fast. And I'm just saying, "Don't take your helmet off." I remember thinking, "I can't breathe." And then I passed out, which is really, really, really good.
And that ended your 400 then?
Yeah, only because I was really lucky. I was in the hyperbaric chamber and everything. So, but it was about 3. I got back to training about 2 weeks in because I thought I'm in a cast, it'll be fine.
Didn't you say you had broken ribs?
Yeah, but they didn't know that at this time.
Right, okay.
They'd only, because I was fine. I literally was in no pain, but obviously they say a lot of that is shock, don't they? Mm-hmm. And so they only x-rayed my limbs, my legs and my arms. And I was just...
Now, I don't know how x-ray machines work, but you'd thought whacked in one, having been in a car accident, they'd just scan everything, you thought.
Yeah, you would have thought that, but I think I'm sure I was saying, "Can you please just make sure my leg's okay?"
Yeah, right.
I just wanted to make sure my leg's okay. So they just thought, we'll just x-ray the limbs. Because I said, I'm absolutely fine. And they came in with, all the cast stuff. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, what is it? And he was like, it's your arm. I was like, my arms are fine. He was like, can you please stop wiggling them?
Oh, right.
And I said, they're absolutely fine. But he was like, no, you've absolutely smashed this one up.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no pain. Not at all. So, yeah.
They hadn't whacked you full of morphine, you just forgot?
No, they didn't fill me full of anything. Right. Well, not that I knew, I don't want actually, to be fair. Not that I think I remember. But yeah, so that was a pretty bad one. So when I got back to training, I was struggling to breathe. Obviously the long sloggy stuff. And I was like, this is ridiculous. What is wrong? I can't have lost fitness in 2 and a bit weeks. And then...
No, it's not the timetable is 2.5 weeks from...
I just thought
I
just thought I'd broken my arm, so I thought you can still run with a broken arm. So apart from the fact it was just, blood pools, so I was just kind of shaking it a little bit so it stopped doing that. But when I was in the gym...
the doctors love you swinging your arm as well when they're trying to heal.
And when I was in the gym, I had the weight on my neck, and I went out in the institute. Trev Christian was looking after me, so obviously they called the ambulance. I was like, honestly, I'm fine. And they were like, are you sure? I was like, honestly, I had a motorbike accident a couple of weeks ago. It's probably just a little bit of shock and trauma.
Right. And they were like, just clarify, you're doing weights 3 weeks. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's still with me. Yeah.
Just checking.
I'm really sensible. Again, this probably comes across
this is
as well.
This is sports people in general, isn't it? I mean, we've all been injured where the physio will say, and Ruth was talking about, your physio will say, don't do it, and then a week later you're
like,
training.
Well, it doesn't hurt. So
Well, it's a bit of pain, I'll manage it.
Yeah. I think because you're so used to being a bit of pain or DOMS, and if you don't feel a bit of pain, you think, well, obviously I haven't worked on it. So it was on it. Then I raced against one of my friends because I was like, come on, you do the 400 hurdles with me. And he was like, oh, if I beat you. And I was like, you're not going to though, are you? And I got to the 8th hurdle and literally was bonked out.
Oh, right, okay.
Literally tried to lift my leg and I just was like, oh, and then went out and they stopped the whole track meet to bring an ambulance onto the track. So that was very embarrassing. Right. But then I had to go for x-rays then because they were like, this is the second time. And that's when they x-rayed everything.
Right.
And that's when, but obviously they can't do anything for broken ribs and stuff anyway. But yeah, so then I just went into sprinting and just thought, oh, this doesn't hurt.
Oh, right,
Which is weird when you think sprint hurdling. And
So you never went back, presumably ribs are fine, but even when those would have healed, you still kind of, that 400's...
Yeah, I just thought, I'll just do something that doesn't involve...
So training a lot different then for 400 to 100? Less endurance stuff?
Yeah.
It's more power, I see.
Yeah, definitely. And the 400 stuff's hard, like lactic hard as well as the speed stuff.
Right.
Whereas the sprinting was just way easier, and actually it was actually nice to have a change of training.
Okay.
I'm doing something fast and quick, and my brother was having real problems with sciatica, and he felt hurdling kept releasing that nerve as well. So he'd come into hurdling, so we were both doing it together. So it was actually really nice to train with somebody because I've been the only hurdler, well, apart from the odd sporadic one since I started.
Right.
So it was actually nice to have somebody to train with, and then we both went to the Island Games. So it was nice to have him there for our first Island Games together as well.
We chatted with, I'm sure you know Andrew Roach just because he's probably been as many games. I just wonder about your medal totals.
22.
Yeah, I don't know what Andrew's is actually, but he can't be far away from that as well.
Don't know.
You need a medal off.
He's probably got way more.
Got Sharif coming in there saying, what's your best Island Games moment? Now we're talking about them.
That's a really tough one. Actually,
cool.
Probably Jersey, actually. After my accident in March, I'd gone to Jersey in the July. And there was actually loads of people saying to me beforehand, aren't you a bit silly going to the games? You only had a motorbike accident. Are you really in the shape that you should be in? And you're not doing the 400, because I'd obviously then stopped doing the 400 training.
Yeah.
And I just thought, how dare these people write me off? Obviously, I never said that. That was in my head. And then I did the sprint hurdles and I won. And I got the Manx record, which had stood for about 20 years from Cheryl Doan, who is a fab athlete. And although I never met her, you see her in the record books, you hear people talking about her. She was kind of an inspiration, even though I didn't know who she was. So that was amazing, and I think the feeling that I thought that people thought I was done because I'd just been hit by a car. So I think that was.
I hope the cast was off at this stage.
Yeah, it was. It was it was a really special moment. I think as well because my whole family were there as well. My mum and dad. My dad was there. He's only been to a few, and my brother as well. So my brother was there as well. So that was it was that was probably the most special moment.
So are you? When it comes to pressure and the big occasion, does it bother you?
No, I absolutely love it. Right. Yeah, I thrive on pressure.
Right.
But I think a lot of people do. You think about even when you're studying, when you've got a big assignment due in 2 weeks' time. Night before job, isn't it?
I don't know. I wouldn't I think a lot of people are, I think people who have that confidence perhaps don't see the people then that don't have that confidence that on that big moment that it gets to them. Or affects them.
I like that pressure.
Right.
I like that pressure on myself.
Right.
I don't tend to worry about what other people think. I'm very much probably a bit selfish, I suppose, in that way. But I like to prove myself wrong a lot of the time as well.
Do you enjoy the process of training? And
Yeah. I mean, I've got a great training group. Our training group is second to none, and people I've trained with over the years have all been amazing. And I think that's a testament to probably why I've been, apart from been in the sport so long, because of the people you're surrounded by. And the athletics community are amazing. Everyone from the fell runners to, I won't say joggers because they get I've just said it now, haven't I? To the sprinters, the jumpers, the throwers, they're all great. All the clubs are great.
Sorry, what are joggers then? Long distance runners?
Yeah, obviously. Right, okay. Just to put it out there, we know they're not joggers, but, it's just
It's the
ongoing banter,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, no, absolutely. The psychology then of that, does that, and throughout all the sport, and do you delve into that much or think about that much from a sports angle of either yourself or you helping others?
I never did really up until probably Gibraltar, which I had a few meetings with Richie Searle.
Okay, yeah.
It was one of the things. I've been injured for so long, and I just constantly just picked up something after something after something, and I was struggling to finish hurdle races for some reason. I've just no idea. It's never happened to me before. And
they're typically lower body injuries for hurdlers, then, is it?
Yeah, and it was just one thing after another. I'd done a hip, I'd done a back, I'd done my shoulder, done my ankle, done my toe. Just everything that was just setting you back that little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. And I think so much so it got into my head that I just can't finish races anymore. And Richie delved into a lot of the things of, especially being from the Isle of Man, it's like how people know you.
Okay, your identity.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people that speak to me always ask me about running, and I kind of think
for the last 25 minutes.
Yeah, I know, and I think it's one of the things that got to the point where, as Richard said, you're so much more than that, and I think you're putting all that pressure on yourself that you are this runner, and you've got to keep proving you are this runner, and you don't.
Yeah, right.
So actually, he really helped me. And then this race after that, I finished and ran one of the quickest times I had done at that time of the season.
Right, okay.
So sometimes it does need that little bit unlocking. I would have always said I was the person that I can solve problems by myself. I don't need other people's opinions. And
all right, okay.
I can do this. But actually, I just got to the point where I must have had such a blockage.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? How just kind of words can.
Yeah, Richie just gave me a script to go through.
Okay, so pre-race, walk through, think about, right, okay.
Yeah, and it was fine after that. And then I got injured again.
That must be, I'm obviously not particularly talking about age, but generally as people get older, that's going to be more
we don't
bounce
back as well.
Yeah.
And especially doing a high impact speed activity.
I was going to say, is there kind of like an age, don't want to say cap, where you start seeing sprint hurdlers kind of fall off, you see mostly them tend to be more young. You don't see many
absolutely
older ones.
Probably under 30, I think, and then you get the odd few that kind of go over 30, and I'm pushing 40. So yeah, but I just love it, and I think if I, as long as I love it and my body lets me compete, I'll do it.
Do you know your PBs?
Yeah.
Go on out.
14.5 for the sprint hurdles.
14. Okay, yeah.
14 flat. What else do you want to know?
400 from the old days.
But I think 64.1. I think.
Right.
I could have definitely gone way faster than that. I think I did that relatively off not much training. But yeah, I was just.
Have you ever done it? I appreciate it's boring without hurdles, but have you ever done them without the hurdles?
Only in relays.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, actually, that's tell a lie. I did one indoors. It's just I just don't find it interesting, and I apologise to anybody that's 400-metre runner, but I just don't have the mental
and not the 100
capacity.
either.
Yeah, I've done the odd 100, but only just really to help my speed with the hurdles.
Right. Okay.
I quite like the 100, but it's just again it's pressure, isn't it? You've got to get everything right to. And not saying the 400 isn't. I just think it's so hard, to be honest.
Right.
It's so hard.
Why don't you think there are many? Certainly, when you look at the Isle of Man, not many hurdlers.
That's a great question. I really don't know, because Di's our hurdles coach, and she's had a lot of hurdlers through. Yeah, they just don't seem to stay in the sport, I think.
Right.
Which we have a lot of hurdlers up to go into university, but then there's not really any stay after that, really. So whether it's just when they go to uni, there's a little bit more to life, and it's a good question. That's the only reason I can think of, really. One
of the things I was listening to was an interview when you took up the role as development officer, and that was something I felt listening to it, a gap you wanted to try and fill.
Yeah.
How was that role? How did you find that role? Is it what you expected?
Yeah. The trouble is I'm a people person, and it was a job that I did a lot on my own, which I struggled with. And then I got offered a job that I really wanted in school. So it was just one of those things that it was nice to have that experience. and put things in place, because without that, I wouldn't have got the job in school.
Yeah, okay.
Because my head was talking about having a leadership position, but I hadn't had any leadership experience. So within the ADO role, I managed to do that. So she offered me a different position then when I went back to school.
Yeah, right. So on that career path then, so you touched on earlier, gone back to Harrogate. Mm-hmm. What then left there to get you back to the homeland?
Harrogate was quite expensive to live,
right.
And obviously on a newly qualified teacher wage, so it wasn't ideal. My training group were really young. Everyone I worked with had young families, so there wasn't really much social side of it. So it just got to the point where I was just a bit unsure about what I was going to do. And then I got offered a supply job at St Ninian's High School at home. So I thought, oh, well, I'll go home for a bit. And then obviously a bit turned into a long time.
Right.
But, as a teacher, you're lucky. We have 6 weeks off in the summer, which I've tended to use to go travelling and seeing bits and pieces. I mean, obviously you can only go for like 4 or 5 weeks, but it's more than a lot of people get, which I feel quite lucky with.
So the role of a PE teacher, is that every sport? Is that what's expected of that in school?
Yeah, pretty much. We obviously, in different schools around the UK as well as the Isle of Man, different curriculums and different sports you follow. When I taught in Bath, I was at sports school, so we did a different sport every 4 weeks. Okay. So we did things like mountain boarding.
Okay, mountain boarding?
So basically just got a skateboard on big, massive wheels.
Right.
So just because it's a sports college, they just experienced loads of different sport. We did lacrosse, we did tennis, we did gymnastics, we did squash, because we had so many facilities. Kiteboarding as well, we did, you've got the mountain board with the kites.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that was quite nice. But obviously in the Isle of Man, we just do different sports. We tend to stick to the netball, football, rounders, athletics, rugby, hockey.
I don't know how to play lacrosse, do you?
It's really hard, actually.
It's like the net, the one with the stick and a net.
Yeah, the coordination with it is, because you think I'm there and then you're like, oh, no, maybe not.
Oh, right, yeah. I've never, I don't know whether you have to throw, do you have to throw it in a net at the end? Is that?
Yeah.
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 I think I've ever seen it played. Net. Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. It is really
it's more
good.
of an American, is it more of an American sport?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But a lot of the kids from the school I was at used to go into the sports colleges, Kirkham, Sedbergh, Millfield. They'd go into the bigger sports schools and things like that. So I think they were just trying to get them to experience everything.
And how do you find teaching rewarding? I assume you must, on the basis you're still doing it.
Yeah. I've come away from it a few times just to gain different experience and different things. But yeah, I've always come back to it. I like kids. They're honest.
What age bracket are you?
Secondary.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's then from whatever that is,
11
12
to 18.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, secondary.
A lot of back chat from them?
Occasionally, but yeah, I prefer a stroppy teenager than being a primary school teacher. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it.
So we touched on before as well, before we started the podcast, about also helping with, it might be better to describe it, people with, not behavioural issues might not be quite the right term, but maybe you could explain that in better terms than I could.
Yeah, when I left QE2 the first time, I went to work at the Education Support Centre, who deal with a lot of the kids that have reduced timetables, so on all kids that school refuses, for different various reasons, a lot of mental health issues and things like that. And the reason I went into that role was I wanted to work with kids that are a bit more difficult, really. So the experience I gained there to deal with mental health, and they put me on a lot of courses to do that. So I just found it really rewarding. So then when I went back into QE2, I've just tried to do a little bit more work with those types of children.
Right.
And the role I'm in now, I'm in the Key Stage 4 leadership team. So we deal with a lot of the year 9, 10, 11s. But a lot of the time with if they've got issues or problems at home and things like that, and then we try and signpost them to like where they can work and help most, really.
Right. Okay. Sad, really, that you can...
It is sad. And it's awful what some kids go through.
Yeah. Right.
And I think especially in the Isle of Man, a lot of people don't think that we deal with a lot of the problems that we do. But yeah, we try and deal with them as best we can and try and support the kids as much as we can.
Yeah.
But obviously, it works sometimes and not others.
Yeah. And I presume just in your day-to-day job, you can see how it manifests problems from kids that manifest in their behaviour. I assume they're just patterns you get used to seeing.
Yeah, and
sadly,
it's obviously different as well with after lockdowns as well.
Right.
You know, some kids have really struggled with it. Some kids have loved it. Some kids prefer being taught online and things like that. But yeah, we've definitely noticed a difference in behaviour.
So I've never thought about teaching when on Zoom PE. How does that work? Is everyone on the treadmills?
No. So we don't. So within the first lockdown, obviously everyone was just trying to cope with what was going on. So we tended to concentrate on the core subjects, maths, science, English, and especially the kids that were in year 9 above, what options subjects they were doing.
Okay.
So within PE, obviously we've just concentrated on the GCSE, the A level, the BTEC, and then one of our PE teachers, Becky Dunn, she's done a lot of the online stuff, online fitness classes and things, and little challenges for the kids to do. So that was quite good.
Right. Is there much theory stuff in that then that you can teach as well?
Yeah. So we've most of the PE staff have done the theory stuff online, obviously. So
what kind of?
It's just not the same.
No, I'm sure.
I was saying that to Matt before. It's you don't get the interaction. You've got 20 kids on a screen. Some of them have got their cameras off, some of them have got their microphones off, and like, does everyone understand me? And you get some thumbs up, and then you're like, yeah.
Yeah, right.
So it's not the same. It's not the same when you teach, and it's everything's very like formal, because you've kind of got your lesson plan. You stick to it, whereas you've got an idea of what you want to teach when you're in a classroom, but it's just a bit more free, I suppose.
It's probably more fluid, isn't it?
Yeah, good word.
Yeah. And what kind of things are in theory then, for having not done sports at school PE?
So like anatomy and physiology, all about your body, the psychology of sport, the history of sport.
Right.
In BTEC, we've done, all about training programs. They're doing now applying for jobs within the sports industry.
Oh, okay.
So stuff like that, really.
And I suppose it seems to be more and more of a it's not a good football score. I suppose careers to go into from sport. It's not, I think certainly when I was at school, PE was like, well, you kind of thought about it, and then it'd be, I'd do a PE and then you'd probably go and try and be an athlete of some kind. But now it's sports science, the sports nutrition.
It's more scientific. Like, there's so many more avenues now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it's just giving them an idea of what they can go down. But obviously as well now with lockdown and COVID and university places and things like that, it's a very difficult time for them. It's a really difficult time for them.
Not allowed the C word. C word's banned.
Sorry, I don't envy them at all.
Yeah. So representing the Isle of Man, obviously always a proud moment, I assume.
Yes,
have you flagged Baird?
I have, yes.
So where was that?
That was in Scotland in 2017.
Right.
So it was potentially where I was going to retire, but I wasn't ready to retire.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was the flag bearing like?
It was brilliant. It was just an honour to be asked to it initially.
Was it a surprise? Was it a surprise when you got asked?
Yeah, definitely. Because obviously so many people that have done so much for their sport have done it before me. So it was really nice. But then, I didn't end up coming away with a gold medal in my event. So I was just like, well, I'm not retiring.
Okay.
Not retiring on a bronze.
So that's 17.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So is that the hope then somewhere? Because did 9 not happen then?
Yeah, we did Gibraltar in 2019.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
And how was that?
It's not one I like to talk about.
Okay.
But so I was actually running really well. That's after I had the chat with Richie Sill.
Right.
And I was running really, really well. And I messed up my ankle literally about 5 weeks before the Island Games.
Right.
Just completely went. And Ruth Cool actually completely casted it for me when I had to race in Gibraltar, because I went over it again the night we got there.
Oh, right.
So I was just starting to because I wasn't been able to do sprint starts or any hurdling or anything. And I just thought, well, I'll just have to get to the start line. And I came second.
Right.
4 striding the hurdles, so alternate strides, because my foot just wouldn't take that impact. It just, the pain, just shooting shooting up through my leg. But yeah, so I was really disappointed.
And is the plan somewhere next Guernsey next, isn't it? I think in next year.
Yeah,
or year
2023. Yeah, it was going to be 2021, but well, this year. Yeah. So anyway, I'm quite glad because the injuries I've had.
Right.
I wouldn't have been going to this one.
And is that still a goal?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I'd like to end it on 10 Island Games on a gold medal, but again, that's probably wishful thinking with everything that's gone on.
What's the depth like for across the islands for that sport?
For athletics?
Yeah.
It's really good. Our athletics in a really strong place at the moment. Yeah, right. We've got, probably the highest number ever potentially going to the Commonwealth Games. Got Joe Reid, Holly Lockley, Erica Kelly, Alan Corlett, potentially Rachel Franklin. No, it's I think it's a really exciting time for it. Just need a few more sprinters coming in and coming through.
Do you think the reason for that, particularly, just a good time,
I think
work put in the grassroots?
Yeah, all those that I've just mentioned, they've all been in the sport for a long, long time. I mean, we've got some great youngsters coming through, but we always do. Yeah. We just can't seem to keep them in the sport, which is whether it's injury, whether it's university that just takes them on a different path or a different sport. I'm not really sure what happens. But yeah, it'd be nice to have a few more sprinters.
And somebody wanting to get into the sport, is that go and find the club events and training nights and go down the
It's all on the websites. I mean, Manx Harriers, Western, Northern, they're all pretty up to date with their websites. So if anyone is interested, have a look and, see where your local club is and get down to it. But I think with lockdown as well, so many people have taken up running. So a lot of people have joined to do the fell runs and the Winter Hill League and things like that. So
never fancied the fell runs?
Nope.
Don't want to get dirty?
No, it's not that. I don't mind getting dirty. It's just, it's a long way.
Oh, right. And very steep.
Yeah. I'm very, very much out and out sprinter.
Right.
Yeah. I work with Nikki Arthur, who is the only woman to do the Radnor Fullen on 24 hours.
Oh, right, okay.
So she does a lot of the fell runs and she's my line manager. So she takes the mick out of me all the time. It's like, oh, what? So you did 350 metres today? When she's been out for like 15 miles. But I still think mine's harder. Sorry, Nikki.
So you've represented GB as well?
For Masters, yeah.
So talk a bit about that. How does that come about?
Yeah, so you hit 35 and then you can represent Great Britain.
I always think vets at 35 just doesn't sound right to me. It's just
they never used to. It all used to be from 40. Right. And especially the men, they used to do from that. I think it's better to do it that way.
I just think it should be a different name than vets. Vets at 35 just feels like you're over the hill.
Vets at 50 sounds
Yeah, with cycling it's 40 and I prefer it to be called Masters or something, just a bit more.
It is called Masters Athletics, but then you've got your vet 35 club on your Power 10 or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it's great. They're a great community and the competition's amazing. Some of the times, some of the even like 45, 50-year-olds, even there was a 75-year-old man still jumping over 11 metres in the triple jump.
Oh, right.
That's phenomenal. Yeah. But like watching him, you're thinking, oh my God.
Legs are going to crumble.
The hit's going to come out. Yeah. Triple jump is a nightmare anyway, let alone when you're that age.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in that? Is that you like they see your Power 10 or you apply to it, or is it
it can be a bit of
event
both.
Meets or anything like that?
Yeah, so it can be a bit of both. I got contacted by the manager and I asked if I'd be interested. So I signed up and went to, I think Madrid was my first one.
Is that paid for?
No.
Get yourself there.
Yeah.
Well, here's a vest.
Yeah. Here's your vest and your kit and everything else. But yeah, it's a really good event, and it's I think it's the biggest athletics event in the world, but only because of the amount of people that do it. And there's obviously so many age groups. You can go all the way up to 100.
Oh right, okay, right. Still hopeful,
Yeah, there you go.
Looking through your Power 10, there's just like endless kind of first and second. Do you race a lot in the UK through your career?
Yeah, an awful.
And was that just because? Well, was that obviously the standard, but also there wasn't so much racing here?
Yeah, there's just everything. Yeah, there's just a bit of both. There's no racing really, especially hurdling. We had 100s, 200s, absolutely fine. Yeah. But yeah, so if I wanted competition, really, you have to go away. So which is.
What did you say your best 100 was?
think 12.6, I think.
Oh, yeah. And what did you say for 400?
400 flat.
I'll go either.
No, don't do the 400 flat time because I think that was the only one I ran. The 400 hurdles, I think 64.1. Yeah.
I confirm.
Thank you.
HJ, what's that? High jump?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. So you've done the high jump.
I've done a bit, only for a lot of the, because we're in Northern League, we go away as Team Isle of Man. And obviously the more points we get, the higher in the league we stay, and then we can get put up.
So you're throwing into those
So
things.
yeah, I chuck or jump.
What's 60 HW?
That's 60 hurdles, so that's indoors.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
So is that what stride pattern's that?
That's still
same.
Yeah.
Because the gap of the hurdles still the same. It's just shorter.
Yeah, you've just got 5 hurdles. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Is the height different on the hurdles on them?
It's exactly the same.
Whatever they are, whatever that height is.
Whatever that 2.9.
Yeah. And then long jump.
Yeah.
Here as well.
I think a bit of javs on there as well. You probably cut it off.
Oh, the javelin, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right, okay.
Done a bit of javelin, bit of shot,
right.
bit of discus.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of is it, what's the ladies one called? Heptathlon.
Heptathlon,
I'm trying to think of not so much the 2012, who I should know, Kelly name, the one long before
Kelly
her.
Silverton.
Yeah, no, yeah. Was it? Yeah, it must be, yeah. I was trying to think of one.
Denise Lewis.
Yeah, maybe, well, maybe it was Denise, yeah. Because was there a lady around showing our age now, or my age? Thompson.
Katharine Johnson.
No, the male.
Daly.
Yeah, was there because back in those days, English sport just had these couple of different sports.
Really stand out.
Yeah, there was like Roger Black, for example, in the running, and I'm trying to think if there was a lady heptathlon at that stage.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it was Denise Lewis, maybe Denise Lewis.
It was a bit later,
early.
I think. Yeah, she was a bit later.
Too late, yeah, sorry. Because it literally was like Denise Lewis, then Kelly Silverton, then Jess Ennis, then Katharine Johnson-Thompson, then Morgan Lake, and they've all kind of, come through.
Yeah. They always seem to be fighting it, I guess, because of multiple sport, fighting injuries just seems to be the constant problem with it.
I think obviously training must be so interesting.
Bit of variety.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of variety.
Yeah.
So, general then, big broad question, drugs and sport.
Yeah.
Your views on it? They're great. Does it bother you? Has it ever bothered you? Do you look at other...
Not really, but probably because I've not gone to a high enough level really for it to matter so much.
Do you not believe that it's happening?
Probably is. But if that's the case, then they need to sort it out really.
Right.
Because
do you have many drug tests through all your racing?
I've had about 3 in my lifetime. First one when I was 15, so that was an eye opener. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it's not a pleasant experience, but it's not the worst experience you can go through. It's just
what events were they at?
A bit bizarre. One of them was at in the Isle of Man. It was before the Gotland Island Games.
Okay.
I was literally lining up to run a 200 metres. These 3 people in suits with clipboards came up to me and were like, "You Hannah Riley?" I was like, "Yeah." You need to come for a drugs test. I was kind of like, "Can I race first?" They were like, "Yeah, but just don't go anywhere after you race."
Oh, right, okay.
So even Di was like, "Do you want me to come with you?" I was like, "Yes, please." So she came, obviously not into the bathroom with me, but she came to give me a bit of moral support because it's just a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially as a 15-year-old, you're so aware of your body and.
Yeah. I imagine there's a lot. I mean,
when they're like stripped down.
Exactly.
You're like, what? Is that what happens?
It's all female, I assume. Has to be the case.
It's the crouch down is the weirdest bit.
Right.
And you're like, where are you going?
So right. Yeah, because I know, well, I haven't been through it, but certainly men's experience. There was like a story not that long ago where, I don't know what sport it was, but he had the fella had a false.
Yeah, because they put a lot of wee up their back or up the bum and all kinds of stuff.
He basically got his Mr. Knish out, and it was a fake one.
Oh, he's got
to then.
Wow.
To then show the flake.
That's next level.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But Ace Ventura.
I know. Yeah, I'm totally with you. Big ol' Mr.
It's a great movie. You've never seen Ace Ventura. You've got one. Have you ever seen Ace Ventura?
Who hasn't?
Well, riff-raff haven't. I would imagine it's especially for a lady.
For a female at 15 years old, it was definitely an eye-opening experience. And it's one thing when we have the Island Games meetings, I always kind of say, this is what you're going to go through. Because obviously a lot of them are new kids. And even at mid-20s, it's still not a pleasant experience. I think men are a little bit more inclined to get their bits out.
Mr. Knish. Have you seen Incarnate? What's it called?
Icarus.
Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
A
the German
documentary,
doctor, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's just amazing the amount people go through.
That's the one thing that would always, I suppose, rumble through your head is, I know they take it away in a sealed thing, but it's then outside your control, isn't it?
It's like when people can actually tamper with it. Not that they bother with me because I'm not like a gold medal Olympian, but it just must be horrendous for those people, I think, that miss out, that have come third, but they could have got gold or silver. It's life changing, it's career changing, and they've missed out on all of that, all the endorsements they potentially could have had. I think it just must be awful, absolutely awful.
Do you look back on your running career with pride?
Yeah.
Or do you not think about it much?
I try not to look back, potentially because I'm still doing it and I want to do it as long as possible. Obviously, I have regrets, as I said, the Malcolm Arnold thing, but again, it's hard to regret something that I wasn't in the right mind frame at the time. Obviously, I had my time over. I would have taken that opportunity. And that's one thing I would always say to people: if you have an opportunity, grab it, because if you don't like it, you can always not do it. But I think to turn down something is I think I've just...
Is that the one thing you'd change that decision?
Yeah, definitely. I would just have given it a go just to see what it was like.
Never know where,
Yeah, exactly. Catherine Reed said the same thing when she went off to Georgia. She asked so many of our opinions, and it's like ultimately it's got to be your decision. But I think it's something you'd regret if you didn't try it. And that's how I said from my own experience. It's something that I regret doing. I also got offered a scholarship in Philadelphia when I was at university to go and run there, and I didn't do that either, just because I didn't like America. I just thought, I should have just tried it. But it's when they say youth is wasted on the young. Sometimes it is totally true.
Most of us wish we had the brain we had today.
I know, just
decision making.
It's so frustrating.
And do you help youngsters coaching now? Is that part of what you do or want to do? Or
no, it's not. It's not something I do at the moment.
No. Something you'd like to do in the future, or
maybe I'm not sure whether I'm the right person to go into coaching. I don't know. Maybe it's just that not the frame of mind I'm in at the moment. It's not because I'm still quite heavily involved in my sport myself, and obviously I teach all day every day, so it's not really something I want to do in my spare time. I know that sounds really selfish, but potentially when either I don't teach or when I stop running myself, it's maybe something that I want to stay involved in. The volunteers and everything in our sport is amazing. And I know they could always do with more. Not sure at the moment. Yeah.
And then the future, we mentioned earlier about potentially the Island Games in a couple of years. Will you just keep running as long as you're competitive? If you I use the word rubbish, but if you're rubbish, would you stop?
I'd like to think so. There's still
you are super competitive, I assume.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
So that's a lot.
Yeah. And I think it'd be very difficult to hang up your spikes, but I think sometimes it gets to the point where everyone's got to do it, don't they? With every sport, you get to the point where actually it's not enjoyable because you can't do what you used to be able to do. There's still things in my sport I want to achieve. Potentially they might happen, they might not. So we'll
like what? Are we not allowed to know?
No, you can. I'd like to be world champion in Masters at 100-meter hurdles. That was one thing I'd really like to do, and I want to.
So what kind of time? What how does that fit in timeline? I forgot. You've got to do that by what age? What time would you be looking at? I appreciate that time's probably getting quicker every year because I just see as youngers migrating to I race in the 40 category for men. It's like faster than the 35 category. Just seems to be, I don't know, I guess people's families start, they've had kids have gone away, they've got more time to train, they're wiser, more endurance. So I'd imagine that's the same with...
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, COVID's obviously disrupted a lot of competition and things like that, which is something that I would have done earlier, but it depends if we can do competitions this year. And if we can't, if they go to next year, as long as they're before July, I'll be able to do it. But then after that, I go up to 40 age group.
Right, okay.
So And
So what
then
time
they
would
do
you...
80 metre hurdles then in the 40 age group, which...
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And I want to try and stick at the 100 if I can. But obviously, I'd still, if that was just the case, that's just...
And what time would you be looking at if you wanted to win that?
I want to get down to what I was running 2 years ago, really. I don't think it's outside my capability. I just think my body lets me down too much these days.
Right.
I just need to be a bit more mindful of things. It's things that you learn as you go along. I've always been quite good to maintain like massages and my strength, and I don't tend to miss training. Even if I'm injured, I will literally find any other way that I can do something. I will cross train. I will get on the assault bike. I will get the turbo out. Why? Because I want to get back running as quick as I possibly can. And if you're at home then and you can't train because you're injured, I assume you're in a nightmare. Yeah. Luckily,
no, because I think a lot of sports people are like that. They're like, I haven't been on for a week. My form's gone.
You get training guilt.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing for me, even this time, because when I did my knee in August racing, it was typical. I'd literally just got back after my ankle after Gibraltar, so it's almost took me a whole year to get back to some kind of decent training. And obviously lockdown happened, but my training in lockdown was going brilliant. I was in really good shape because I was eating so well as well. You know, you're at home, it's only school like 4 hours a day, so I was just able to monitor everything so much better. And I loved it, even though I was training by myself, but I've been so used to that a lot of the time with being the only hurdler. And it was great. And then the ankle went again. I did my Achilles. And then when I got back after that...
What's that, a tear? Is that just inflammation?
Yeah, well, I've torn it before.
Right.
So I think it was just road, because I was doing sprinting on the roads and then up hills. So I think it was just a lot of tightness. And obviously we weren't getting regular massages anymore because obviously you couldn't do that. So I think it was just a lot of intensity. And then when I could run again, I carried on doing that. And then obviously everything opened up. So it was like, great, we were back on the track, spikes were on, I could run fast. So I was like, right, great, I'm gonna race. So, because I still wasn't allowed to hurdle. I thought, do you know what, I'll run a 200 metres.
Right.
And I ran a 200, came around the bend, my knee locked up. So I flicked it mid-race and I tore the cartilage and impinged my fat pad.
Right.
And that was the worst injury because it wasn't sore, even though my knee was fat, it wasn't sore.
Right.
But I've been recommended not to do any impact.
Oh, right, okay.
Stationary cycle for only at 40%.
Right.
I couldn't do any body weight on the lower body because I was still at school. They said walking was enough, especially I had to be careful going downstairs because of the amount of fluid. It can gellify, so I would lose movement in my knee. When they said if you want to get back to competitive sport, you're going to have to, do all these things. So that was the hardest thing, knowing that I couldn't do anything intense. When you get that buzz of working really hard, you're like, I just didn't feel that for about 3 months.
Yeah, right.
So then when I could start working harder, my other half let me use the assault bike. So.
I was going to say, you were aware, like during that time when I think we all probably get moody because we can't train, you're aware of that and trying to manage your own. Yeah,
I'm not really very moody. I'm pretty good at staying pretty positive towards it. Just, as I said, I just try and
frustrated then just by the...
Yeah, a little bit. I have the odd cry to myself and things like that. I try not to inflict that on other people. But I think my family and my friends would say you definitely, because I'm a bit ADHD anyway, and loud and talkative. And I think that just is increased tenfold when I haven't got that outlet.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel sorry for other people more when I can't do exercise.
Yeah, I suppose the question is then you're aware of that, so you try and manage that yourself.
Yeah. It's just hard when you've got an injury, because you're really injured, you're like, oh my God, that hurts, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But when nothing hurt, but I was still not allowed to work more than 40%. It's just like... So
assume you're probably working at 65%. Yeah, just don't tell
her. These things. Yeah, but the assault bike was amazing because it was the only thing so you've got a watt bike but with handles.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So it was the only thing I felt that absolutely mullers you other than like a 150 or a 200 fast.
Right.
So I love that. I started and that was brilliant.
I'm not sure I've ever seen one of them actually.
A lot of CrossFit.
It's like a CrossFit or with a bike rather than
them, yeah. Right. But they're absolutely amazing and it was a godsend. So,
They're called assault bikes.
Yeah. Dean was a lifesaver with that. So it's in my garage all the time. Well, actually, it was in the back room at the time. But just on that as much as I possibly can. And then a bit of upper body circuits.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So kept me sane-ish.
And do you ever, looking back at times of training, you an overtrainer or
I'm usually pretty sensible, I'd say.
Right. Are you aware if you're tired? Would you skip days if you're like, I feel tired?
Yeah. I think as you get older as well, you start realising that a little bit more. There's a few times that I've still gone to the gym, and then you start working out and you're like, I'm absolutely knackered. I just need to go home. So, yeah, I'm pretty good with that.
See, I'm not like that at all. In fact, I feel like that. My brain goes, I'm losing fitness. I need to train harder, and then you overtrain.
Yeah.
And you get a go. I probably still now train too much. How many times would you? Yeah. How many like in normal, no injuries? How many times a week would you be training?
6 days a week, and then
right, wow.
netball on a Sunday.
Right.
Yeah, still play netball on a Sunday.
Wow.
But yeah, I still
so different sessions during the week.
Yeah, 3 track, 3 gym.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So it equals it out. But yeah.
And is that an evening thing most of the time?
Yeah, straight after school type of thing. Yeah.
But not a morning kind of get out of the way.
Definitely not a morning. I can't. I remember doing it when I did CrossFit, just for like extra fitness and stuff. I remember doing a Helen, I think it was. So there was some. CrossFit was going, whoa, that's absolutely, you're totally wrong. There was something like pull-ups, cleans, and a 400-meter run, and I did it like 7 o'clock in the morning. It was rubbish. I did it 4 o'clock the next day, and my results were about 40% higher.
Oh, right.
So I don't function as a human at that time of morning, and I can hold a conversation, but obviously my exercise rates do not work at that time. I'm more of a 4 to 6er.
Oh,
yeah,
completely the same. I've tried to do cycling. I've tried to do Swift race in the morning, things like that. Awful.
Yeah.
I did one and I was like similar. I was like, nope, not doing it again. Much prefer.
It's weird, isn't it? Especially when you feel awake. You're like, I'm awake. I can do this kind of stuff. But yeah.
I'm morning just, I think, to get out of the way. Because often you get home after a day of work or whatever. You can have serious motivation sometimes to get on a trainer and do stuff. So yeah, I'm more of I think everyone's a bit different, aren't they? You just got to find what works. For you.
Yeah, definitely do. I think it's hard as well sometimes when you get that, as you said before, whether you think you're tired, you think, no, I'll just work through it. And sometimes on the track, you can turn up and you think, I feel great today. I'm going to nail this session. And your times are terrible. Yeah. And you're like, how is that happening? Sometimes you turn up and you're like, that's such a stressful day. I feel absolutely blah. And actually some have the best sessions. So it is a fine line, but I think in gym I notice it way more, especially with strength and things, and especially as a woman as well. I know you've got big guys, so I don't want to butt around like your cycle and stuff. Your strength goes down so much, and that's something that I never even contemplated.
Right. Okay. Right.
It was only when because my brother's massively into all this, into body nutrition and how everything affects everything, and he was like, I know you don't want to talk to your brother about this kind of stuff, but. And I was like, oh, right, I didn't realise. Your strength can go down about 40%.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why a lot of athletes kind of take the pill and stuff to stop that happening.
Oh, right, okay.
Which I thought was quite interesting.
Female
athletes, yeah. Yeah, male if you want to.
And nutrition, is that something that's always been of interest or?
No, not really. No. I'd love to say I kind of watch what I eat and things like that, but I always thought I'm never going to make an Olympic athlete. I'm going to just eat what I like. Obviously, I don't particularly like eating unhealthily anyway, so I'm not going to say I live on donuts and things like that, but I never deprive myself of anything that I want to eat. If I want a pizza, I'll have a pizza. If I want a donut, I'll have a donut. Whereas my brother is really, really dedicated with his food.
He's so good type of thing.
Not really. He just doesn't eat processed food, and he's just a very healthy person without really thinking about it. Right. It's just really annoying. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to get to chat to him at some point.
Yeah, you will actually. I think you'd enjoy chatting to him. He's very knowledgeable with his nutrition, and he'd give you some interesting insights into different bits and pieces.
So just to finish up then, looking at, mentioned earlier about athletes on the Isle of Man and the ollies of the island, etc. What kind of, that must, as a fellow athlete, albeit they're joggers, some of them, that must be,
it's you, luckily.
That must be nice to, do they, I don't know what the right word is, but they're ultimately in the same sport, aren't they? So I see cyclists that are doing well. It kind of gives me a buzz. Yeah. Do you find that with some of those up and coming guys and girls?
Yeah, definitely. The athletics community is quite small as well, especially I think for the sprinters to the long distance runners. We're all quite tight. We all speak to each other quite a lot of the time. We've got WhatsApp groups and things like that. We socialise each other. The other night we had a Zoom call on different bits and pieces. Mikey Haslett's the new athletics development officer.
Right.
He wanted to talk to us about a few different things, and it's nice. We all get on, which makes the Island Games and things like that on Northern Leagues when we go away as a team just great. Everyone supports each other, and I think from an outside point of view, it probably looks like we're really cliquey and like, oh God, I bet they're awful. But actually, when you get involved, everyone's really supportive and really friendly.
I think cycling's a little bit like that. From the outside, it can seem quite cliquey.
Yeah. I think as well because I think the legacy that cycling has, though.
Yeah. And it is quite...
you always hear about these cyclists doing amazing things like...
Thanks.
We do, don't you? And like cyclists are always just like succeeding doing anything, so it must be quite intimidating.
That or backing up traffic. They're doing one of the two things.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I do see that. Although I did a little bit of fell running, and I always felt that athletics community was very welcoming. And I haven't got involved in cycling. Something I'm trying to do in cycling is to make it feel more, if you're new to the sport, there are places you can come and... So we don't really have training nights and things like that, where in athletics you can go down and try out, which I appreciate. Dot has her league and there's a mechanism, but I had a 17-year-old contact me through the club a few weeks ago, and you come into cycling, where do I go? And you're like, you need to kind of hang around with other 17-year-olds, and all they're really the 17-year-olds on the Isle of Man, they're all bordering on pro level. So it's like a newcomer, you probably want to go out with them because you can get your head kicked in. It's fun in that, again, that 16, 18 range, 19 range, keeping them involved in the sport, especially as a newcomer.
I think the balance of it with cycling, isn't it? Is because it's quite an individual sport as well, isn't it? And obviously when you go out on a cycle, it's nice to kind of go out with a group, but a lot of the time you probably go out for a cycle by yourself, or you haven't almost got like an area, as Dot has when she's got all the kids and stuff. And we've got the track.
Exactly.
So
there's a communal place. That's what the island really, when you look at cycling, what the island really needs is like a home of cycling.
Yeah, so even if you wanted to start sprinting, you could just rock up to the track one night, potentially talk to someone and know how to get into the sport that way.
Then they'd see me run and send me home. Yeah, 20 second, 100 metres.
Whereas with cycling, you wouldn't know whether to do that unless you literally knew that Dot did that on Tuesday night and thought, actually, I'll pop down that night.
And if you're not in that age category, then where do you go? And it is quite, it's quite difficult.
That's the harder bit with that kind of thing. Because again, like with rugby, netball, football, you could just rock up to a club, couldn't you?
Yeah, again, we have cycles, but we don't really have like a training night. And
have you noticed a lot more cyclists then coming in after lockdown and things like that?
Yeah. I mean, you saw obviously during lockdown a lot of people out on bikes.
I was.
And it's great, and probably more of a testimony to, ultimately our roads aren't built for bikes and cars. Is the reality. And it's a shame when we're a small island where the reality is we can get anywhere quite quickly. That there's don't get me wrong, cyclists can be knobheads as well.
Yeah.
But then they're the ones whose lives are in danger on the road, is the reality. And I think I have cars come past me at 50 mile an hour, and if they stuck my elbow out, my elbow would get hit, and I just think if that was a horse, you wouldn't do that. So why are you doing that to me?
But some people do it with horses. I mean, when I had mine, some people do that. They just want to see what will happen.
Yeah, it's just...
Or they throw stuff at you. You're like, oh, really? Why would you want to do that? Or just don't...
Yeah, it's just a weird... I mean, I'm in a car and I get stuck behind a slow drive and you get annoyed. I do understand, but...
Everyone gets a bit of road rage though. It's like that monkey brain, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to get there in 2 minutes because I normally get there in 2 minutes. I don't want to get there in 5.
Yeah, we all need a bit more patience, don't we?
But I think it's, with all due respect, I think it's an Isle of Man thing.
Yeah.
We're so used to getting anywhere really quick.
Yeah.
And in lockdown as well, everyone was cycling everywhere, or motorbikes because the roads were quiet. It was great. I took my motorbike to school quite a few times because it was lovely. Don't have to worry about being hit by anything.
So back to the motorbike then. So speaking of, I'm getting hit. I've obviously got back on a motorbike at some stage and managed to get through more than 7 minutes of your test.
Well, 8 years later I got back on it, so it did take a while.
Right.
Was that you mentally not wanting to go back on?
I kind of did. I was more thinking about other people, because even when I was in the car and people fly up to a stop sign, I was still a bit like, and I thought if I do that on a bike, I could cause an accident. And it was just something that I was really annoyed because I loved being on the motorbike and it was something I've always wanted to do. So I was just, and then my brother bought me motorbike lessons in about 3 years ago. So I was like, right, this is my chance now. But technically, it's not classed as a fail because it didn't last long enough.
Oh, right.
But it's funny because when I went to redo my test, the woman was saying, "Oh, have you done a test before?" And I was like, not quite. So I obviously explained the story, and she was like, "Oh, that was you."
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Talk of the town.
Yeah. Even when I went for my motorbike lessons, he said, "Have you done it before?" And I explained the story. He was like, "That was you." So I was like, "Oh, right, this has been heard a little bit around, even though it's been 8 years ago." Yeah.
And what bike have you got now?
I've only got my brother's. I just ride his little Grom. Little Honda Grom, little 125.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Grom, right.
Yeah, it was one thing I wanted to buy a motorbike in, but a relationship broke down and I wanted to buy my house off my other half. So I did that. That was a more important. So the motorbike kind of got put on the back burner.
Right.
So, life happens and
then
I needed a new bathroom. So that savings went on the bathroom and how it goes.
125's all right, you can get around on that, can't you?
Yeah, my brother's got 3 bikes. He's only got one, but so it's he's good. He lets me ride it. And also it's kind of a luxury purchase with all due respect if you're not on it all the time. Yeah, and it's a summer thing for me.
Yeah,
it's not like I can rock up to school like soaking wet with my laptop and everything and then teach kids. It's not quite the same thing.
I had a bike for a little while and was commuting on it, but I had a car as well, and in the end it was just like it becomes like a luxury item, just like and then it didn't use it enough to justify keeping it around.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I train every night and I tend to go from school to training because you've always got something after school.
Mm.
Then I keep all my kit
Rugs,
and everything.
rucksack, bags,
layers in case it rains, literally, it's like an extra wardrobe in your car, isn't it? I think I'd have to have a trailer on the motorbike. If that was the case.
A lot of pennies, all right.
Shoes and it's just one of those. So it is a luxury item. Once maybe get loaded, maybe I'll get one.
Keep buying the lottery tickets.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming down.
No,
appreciate it. And
really
impressive career and good luck in the future as well with
thanks.
With all the running.
Hopefully it'll still keep going.
Or jogging or whatever it is.
Definitely won't be jogging.
I do just have one more that's come in before from Holly. Wants to know, who was your favourite Alla Games roommate? I presume that might be a loaded question there.
What was it, Holly?
Obviously Holly. Definitely the most entertaining. I could tell you some stories about her.
Go on then.
No, I won't. No. Holly's one of my closest friends now. So, but I met her through the sport as well. So, what
does Holly do?
She used to do high jump. She used to be a good 400 metre runner as well.
So she's better than 1.45 metre.
Oh yeah, she is. I reckon she could still do about 155 now.
Right.
But yeah, she does. She's a jogger now. Yeah, but she's good. She does a lot of the 5Ks and things like that. And her husband does it too. Sean Quay.
Okay.
Was Ireland football captain for a while. So they go out and runs together. It's very romantic.
Holding hands together. Thanks again for coming down. It's much appreciated.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Pleasure. Do you want to check it out, Matt?
Yep. So wherever you're watching or listening today, I should talk to the mic. Please like, subscribe, and share, and leave those 5-star reviews, pretty please. Social media, we're Facebook, N-Word Podcast. On Twitter, it's N-Word Podcast #1. And then on Instagram, we are the N-Word ION.
Just watching the feed there, but it's delayed, isn't it? It was confusing me. Yeah, okay. Right. Thanks for letting us into your sexy ears. It's word out from Martin.
And word out from Matt.